This is Big Business with Sarah. This podcast guides you to finding what you desire most in life and business, because running a business is very much about your personal development. In this podcast, I'm sharing what my clients ask me and how I help them. Thanks for joining. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so glad you're here. And actually this week, my group of Mastermind has started. We are with a really nice group, and I'm recording this actually last week, so I'm not sure how the kickoff call went on Tuesday, but probably went really well because, the people are hand-selected by me. It's a very nice group with very ambitious people. And I'm sure they're going to rock. And one of the questions I got already, in the process, and then I know that it's a good group, is they asked me, how can I show up, as the best coachee? How can I make most of the investment that I made? And I think that's such a great question. And I think so often it happens that people say, yeah, I spent so much, 200 euros on a video training and I didn't learn anything. And I'm like, no, you probably did. But, the thing is that you also have to apply it. And that is something that people tend to forget sometimes in the process. It's not that when you buy a course, unfortunately, that everything will be done for you and that you that you will thrive. The thing is with coaching is that you actually have to put in the work. But it's, I was an interim manager and I always did done for you work. So that means that people would hire me and that I would do the work. But I'm seeing the magic in coaching right now. I'm almost a year a coach now, and I'm seeing that it's, so much more beneficial to people. It's kind of like instead of buying the fish, I'm learning people how to fish the fish. Catch the fish. In Dutch we say fish the fish. Anyway, so they started last Tuesday, and so I created this episode especially for them, actually. And it's always a question coming from my mastermind, the first part of the episodes. So, and 3 months is a very short period of time. So the Big Business Mastermind is 3 months, and so the goal for me in the mastermind is to help experienced entrepreneurs. And these, this could also be people who have worked for a boss for a long time in their career, but, people who are, 33 years old plus and more. So I think the people I'm helping are 33 until 60, I guess. So maybe even older. I'm not really sure. At some point it's not very nice to check anymore, but so it's that's the age group, and I'm helping them. That's my promise, and that's actually what has already happened in the first 2 rounds. Is that I'm helping them transform their business into something that is more on their terms. So I'm helping them, or a scalable offer, or I help them find out more what they desire, or I'm helping them build a team so they only have to do the sales or whatever. It's always very difficult for me to see. I always kind of know before they start where we're going, but it's just something that I'm also figuring out during the coaching. And I really resent, I wouldn't be a good coach if I would push someone in some direction. I actually just heard from someone who experienced that, who kind of set up an entire business, and that she actually didn't like that because her coach was so pushy. And so, we can all blame that coach, but obviously you also have I'm blanking here, sorry. You also have how do you say it? So you also have an obligation to yourself. It's not the right word that I'm using. A responsibility. There we go. Sometimes this happens. I'm getting old. Actually, I am. On February 17th, it's my birthday, and I'm turning 37, and there might be an interesting birthday sale coming up more soon. And I'm not really talking too much about my sales in the podcast. If you want to know more about that, you can find out on bureausbb.com/newsletter, or find me on Instagram or LinkedIn. Sarah Birkenkamp. You can find me everywhere there, and I will be announcing it there probably, because I want this podcast to be clean and just, just that advice. So I've been coached, I have coached, I know how to do it. I know all the principles of coaching. I learned that already from a very early age. And I believe that it's really a muscle that you have to train to be a good coachee. So to be, my best student. And I'm not saying, I don't have a student of the week or anything, nothing like that. It's not about that. But I do believe that if you are putting in the work, that it's going to be more, way more than your money's worth. Sometimes I'm looking at my prices and I'm like, I could ask more, but it's okay because, right now I'm really into the phase of creating that value and showing it. And it is actually, it is paying off, the tactic that I'm having. And also it's paying off that people are stepping in right now because they get so much undivided attention from me. So the first thing I want to ask you, when you're, it doesn't have to be, when you're working with another coach, it's fine. You can listen to this episode still, it's not just per se my coaching. It's just everyone's coaching here. So the first question I want to ask you is to set your goals for the period of time that you are being coached, is to set your goals intentionally. So what do you want to get from that? And so, for instance, when I'm doing the private coaching call with all of my clients, we are determining the goals. I also have a type form, so it's like a form, an online form. And I've also just added something that I call kind of the starting point. So where you are starting right now, and then we can look back in 3 months' time and see how you've grown, what has been the transformation. And, maybe you ask me, why is the program 3 months? Because, of course, it takes much longer to pivot your business. Yes, I agree. So, actually, I'm really helping you jumpstart to do that. So that's also my goal. And so I'm helping my coachees, make their goals, formulate their goals. Then another thing, which is quite important, and it's very difficult because I'm also a coachee myself. I have been, and I still am, is asking the right questions. And this is a very important one. Depending on the container that you're in, right? The coaching container that you're in. But if you just bought a video course and there's no coaching, okay, then it's not really coaching. It's more of a training. But if you are in a coaching group, environments, Slack channel, whatever, ask the right questions. And don't be afraid to ask questions. Sometimes, I would always be the person who would always ask a question. I did this since, I don't know, middle school. I always did this. And I never understood why people didn't do it because, it's so beneficial for you. Others can learn from it. It's such you are maybe a little bit vulnerable with asking a certain question, but once you practice, you will get better at asking the right questions. So I believe questions that are, and try to also ask one certain question once and don't repeat the question all the time. So what sometimes would happen is that someone would ask me a question in 1 month, in month 1, 2, and 3, and they're always kind of the same kind of question. And then I think it's my job as a coach to really dive deep into, okay, what is actually, the problem here, because we've spoken about this, and why aren't you doing it, or what is stopping you, and then, I'm kind of coaching them through that, but not asking the same question all the time, and be very aware of that. And just hearing this from me now in this podcast episode might actually help you. And then typically in my group of people, I'm hosting a mastermind, is that we are a group of people. We're in the Voxer channel, could be also Slack channel, could also be a Facebook group, whatever. Also look at the questions other people ask. And it's not just for you, for instance, if you are a service-based business and you're seeing a question from a product-based business, you're like, oh, no, I don't want to hear about this person because, they are having that product base and it's not my business. But actually, it could be, you could actually, if you are having a service-based business, maybe you want to offer digital downloads. Those are products. So you better pay attention to what other people are asking. Or if it's maybe someone in the healthcare sector and you are yourself a photographer, you're thinking, no, I don't want to. But really try to focus and really have that learning attitude and curiosity. And also, very important in a mastermind specifically, it's about taking, but it's also very much about giving. And one thing that I'm noticing, as a coachee, so not so much as a coach, of course, as a coach, I'm helping others, but, also as a coachee, if I'm helping others, more will come to me. So it's so incredible, kind of when you're putting yourself out there, if you would, manifest that or, but really having those positive vibes. So, for instance, I saw a coaching call of, I'm in many different kinds of groups and, Facebook groups and everything. And then I saw someone say something like, business coaches always make you charge more. So, for instance, they were having a business and then I don't know, one of those coaches said, yeah, maybe you should actually charge more. And then this person said, yeah, but this is what business coaches always tell me. And I'm like, oh, I'm actually really allergic to those kinds of things people say because, yeah, it's not a learning attitude. You can also just ask, why do you suggest this? And why do you think this works for me? And try to kind of let go of all the ideas that you have of the coaching industry, but actually really kind of try to learn from it. And, that's my next step was really like be extremely open-minded because it's kind of like, you're always, actually it feels for me, before I was following coaching myself, so this was 2020, and I would always kind of have a door shut. And, that's how it felt. And now my door is wide open and it feels like I'm having, a much bigger house or, however you want to call it. But so being very open to all the opportunities that arise. Maybe you can actually work together with one of your, the friends the people in your coaching container. And yeah, maybe those things, try to see opportunity. And I think this should be your mindset always as a business owner, but yeah. And, a little bit touching on what I said earlier is actually do the things that your coach tells you to do. And if you don't agree with them, during a coaching call or during the Vox or whatever, just ask why they suggest that. And maybe then kind of have them, flip the advice or maybe, try to adjust the advice a little bit so that it's more to what you want. So there comes your responsibility again. You can say nod and say, yeah, I am going to do that. But actually, if you already know, yeah, I'm not going to do that, or maybe it's, 1 hour later or 1 day later, once you've, thought about it a little bit more, then, you can go to the Vox or a Slack or the Facebook group and say, what, actually I've been thinking about it, but this is what I don't want that anymore. So how do I get over it? How do I solve that? And another thing that you can do, and something actually, I think it's one. No, it has been actually more coaches. No, I'm lying. I wanted to say that one person asked me this, but ask your coach how they do certain things. Because, you have stepped into their container for a reason. So also ask their secrets, they're there for you. And, just use the opportunity of being in close proximity. And then the last one that is very important is to be the client you want to have. And I think, this could be such an eye-opener for people because sometimes I really think, why are you doing this? Are you really a client that you desire yourself, or why are you whining or whatever? This is not so much in my with my coachees, but it's more in other coaching groups that I'm like, yeah, but I mean, this is not going to help you further. Everybody's seeing this. Everybody sees this. And I mean, it's not really good. So typically, I've also looked at the first 2 rounds that I hosted in the Big Business Mastermind. So I gave some advice to my coachees, and actually, if you're thinking of stepping in at some point, I believe that the ones who are most successful are the ones that really kind of scrape some time in their agenda and actually put down like 3 to 5 hours a week, and that's actually a lot if you're thinking about if somebody would have a 40-hour week. Yes, it's a lot, but actually if it's 24 hours, it's really a big part actually. But really do that, have also give yourself that time. Don't think it's just something extra. No, actually really seriously working on your business. And so the coachees who ask most questions in Voxer, those are the most successful ones. The ones who are always in the calls, they are, and who are checking, filling out their monthly check-in forms. Those are the ones who are most successful. And another thing that I'm telling my coachees is that if they miss something, I always, they always have to tell me. So I've created many different mini programs because people were asking me this in my program. And, the thing is that, I can offer this as a bonus. So it's always nice to get a bonus, of course, when you're a client of mine or anyone else. And it's also, I can sell that to other people. So it's really a win-win. And yeah, I think that's it. So really, I think it's mostly about just asking for what you want. That is what my biggest tip for you is. And now it's time for one of your questions.
Hey Sarah, this is Pauline Kluver from the Netherlands. I have a question about choosing the right form of coaching. In what stage of your business or career is it best to choose for one-on-one coaching? And when is following a mastermind the right fit? And also, what is exactly the difference between a mastermind and a membership? Thank you.
That is actually a great question. And in the meantime, I was trying to change my video a little bit better because it was tilted, but now it's even worse. So if you're watching on YouTube, I'm very sorry, but I'm just going to do one take. So this is it. And you probably have seen me doing it because I was... I was just thinking that we don't have really video material for that part of when I'm listening to the question. So you've probably seen it. Maybe my video editor will do something about it, but maybe not. So you will see it. So it's a very nice question. I've heard it a couple of times. Obviously, thank you so much, Pauline. And I was preparing for the question. I was also kind of diving into my own experience. What I wanted, and so. I think it also really depends on which phase in your business. So that's actually a really great question. So my own experience is that I went from group to private to now a mastermind. Actually, I was also private and mastermind, at the same time. And so one of the things that I wanted, why I decided, for instance, to do private coaching is because I wanted to do it quickly. And also, I would also really suggest to look at the group. So, for instance, are they young people? Are they a little bit more experienced? Look also at how big the group is and how much you actually want to learn from them. How much you think, how much attention you will get. I was just saying that, in the first part, I was saying, that I was always, the one kind of asking the questions, but. Yeah, I mean, that's probably not very beneficial. Maybe people really like my questions, but, if you're a little bit shy and a little bit afraid to show yourself, then, I would suggest maybe a smaller group. And also look at the coach, right? So what kind of experience do they have? Do they, are they just successful with one program and, that's it? And do they actually have real world experience? Do they have, more experience in different businesses, or, did they just set up their own? And, the reason why I'm saying this is that I'm hearing this so often is that people are comparing themselves to, for instance, their coach. And that coach is just going to tell you how they did it, but they probably lack some experience in, diversifying, and helping you in the question. Sometimes they don't, sometimes they're really great. And also look at the client results, obviously, not just theirs. And so I don't want to be, I don't want to say this, I don't want to call anyone out or something, but it's just for yourself that you're thinking about this, really looking seriously at their experience. So one thing that I've noticed in the mastermind that I'm currently in is that you actually can get a lot of support from the group. And, what I also like in my mastermind that I'm hosting is that, sometimes people would have actually a different point of view, and that could actually help you as well. But for instance, if you have very sensitive information, or if you have a very private job or business, or if you don't really like to share a lot with others, if you're maybe the only one with the problem, or maybe if the coach that you want to work with doesn't have a group yet, well, then you should do private coaching. And, or when you're in a hurry. So for instance, there are people who have enough money, to buy a private coaching container, but they don't have a lot of time. They want it fast. They want it now. And and then private coaching would be really good. But it's really depending also on what the coach offers and what your questions are, how much time you have, how much time you want to wait with it or not. Yeah, it's also a little bit up to you. But I think the thing is, and one thing, I've had discovery call with someone and they asked me also, what should I do, mastermind or private coaching? And then it's also really up to me to ask the right questions and then give that advice. So I would also always just, go to the coach and say, what, this is my question, this is what I need. And then they should actually give you the right answer. Now I have a question for you. My question for you today is, I'm curious if you could write down how much you have invested in business coaching. How much did you earn? Was it actually an investment? Did you get your money back and more? And if you're seeing your earning potential there, is it interesting to look at more coaching? Looking at self-development really as an investment, just as much as investing in stocks and whatever. And the thing is, with investing in yourself, the nice thing about investing in yourself, I'm not saying that you have to, buy from me, but any coach really. The nice thing about investing in yourself is that it's always there, So for instance, if you're investing in stocks, it could happen that it all disappears. Or if you're investing in housing, well, maybe it could be that the economy is so bad, yada, yada, yada. I don't know what could happen, but then it's gone. But I think personal development is the only thing that will remain its value and actually will probably grow on value. So think about that, write it down for yourself. How much did you invest? How much did you earn from that? And is it worth to look at a little bit more? Have a happy day. Thank you for listening to Big Business with Sarah. If you've enjoyed today's episode, leave a 5-star review and hit subscribe. If you're ready for your next step in business, you can find out how to work with me in the show notes. Do not forget to submit your coaching question for one of my next episodes. Have a happy day.